And not only just the economic landscape of Assam is also changing from what I'm understanding. And can you explain how they
Right.
have captured the fishing industry?
Yeah, sure. This is a very important topic which we need to understand, because by capturing the fish industry, the fishing sector in Assam, they have been able to establish their foothold in the entire economic space of the state. Uh, the fish industry in Assam, it was the traditional stronghold this of the socio-economically marginalized Hindu Koiborta community. They are recognized as a scheduled caste in Assam, who depended heavily on fishing for their livelihood, and also various other allied activities such as weaving, repairing fishing nets, construction of boats, and selling fish. Now, Assam, if you see, it is a state full of rivers and lakes. The north bank of the Brahmaputra, in particular, is rich in several large water bodies, which are extremely rich in natural resources. With some imagination and planning, these lakes could have been converted into profitable fisheries. But instead of doing that, uh, Assam began importing thousands of tons of fish from other states of the country, especially Andhra Pradesh. Presently, only a handful of these lakes are being utilized for fishing activities or pisciculture. And that is precisely why Assam gradually became dependent on fishes imported in large quantities from outside the state, because there was no planning on the part of the government, on the part of the successive governments, to develop these lakes into commercial fisheries. I doubt whether even a well sketched map of these natural water bodies may have been prepared either by the state's revenue department or the fishery department, regarding as to how they can be utilized for not just pisciculture but also for developing them into ecotourism centers. So, in the absence of well demarcated boundaries and any and a plan, it has been possible to encroach upon these lakes. The immigrant Bangladeshi origin Muslims, they have proven extremely enterprising in this regard. Their increasing dominance in the fishing sector of Assam became prominent, especially from the late 1990s and the early 2000s. uh, See, for hundreds of years, the lifestyle of the fishermen from the Koiborta community, it has been shaped by the life cycle of the wetlands and the lakes, because they have stayed closer to these water bodies. They practiced fishing when the wetlands were full of water during the monsoons, and they engaged in rice cultivation when water was scarce during the dry season. But changing weather cycles and shortage of rainfall, erratic rainfall patterns over the years has been an important factor in minimizing the wetlands water supplies. So there was a time when water would overflow the paddy fields during the harvest season, but then again, rains were delayed by several months. And because of the changing rainfall patterns, the water requirements of the aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems for which wetlands act as a medium is not met. Climate change and anthropogenic activities began to threaten the wetlands, as a result of which the overall productivity of fish, which is the staple diet of the Assamese people, began to decline sharply. Rice production also declined due to the accumulation of excessive silt in the wetlands because of upstream pollution, agricultural encroachment, which eventually led to the loss of livelihoods of the Koiborta community. And this was when the extremely hardworking Bangladeshi Muslims gradually began capturing the fish market of Assam. Earlier, the traditional Koiborta fishermen used homemade traditional nets. Uh, they used to make it in their homes to capture fish, and these fishing nets were made in a way that did not entrap young fishes and their eggs. Uh, since for them it was a traditional vocation, they took proper care of each and every aspect of fishing, And for the Khoibertors, it was not simply a profession. It was their heritage. It was their culture. But this was not true for the Bangladeshi Muslims. Even if the productivity of fish was low in a certain year, the Khoibertors would use natural means and techniques to increase the production of fish in the next year, which did not harm the environment or the water bodies. But as soon as the Bangladeshi Muslims captured the fishing business, the fishing industry, they only had one motive in their minds, that is to make money, to earn profit. And in many places, the system of wet rice cultivation was extended by these immigrants into right up to the bed of the lakes, which adversely impacted the environment, but also hastened the process of the depletion of the stock of fish of the water bodies, because the original size and depth of the lakes was reduced over a period of time, and eventually the lakes dried up and they were then put to use as paddy fields. But when this was beginning to happen in the initial stages, neither the government of Assam nor the indigenous people seem to have realized this threat. The threat that these immigrants were responsible for destroying the rich heritage and potential of the lakes to the detriment of the state and its people. I was talking about the fishing nets, the traditional fishing nets that were handmade by the Khoiberta community to catch fish, uh, and how these fishing nets ensure that the young fishes, the small fishes, and their eggs are not caught in these nets. But the immigrant Muslims, on the other hand, they are known to use fishing nets which have very small and narrow holes that even entrap young fishes and fish eggs apart from the usual catch. So, unlike the big traditional fishing nets or mahajal, as they are locally referred to in the Assamese language, that were used by the Khoibertors, the fishing nets that began to be used by the Muslims for catching fish resemble the look of a mosquito net, I would say. And they trap more fishes than they were supposed to naturally trap. And this is how many different breeds of fishes, which were earlier endemic to Assam and its neighboring regions, have gradually become extinct or are on the verge of almost extinction. The substandard fishing methods used by the immigrant Muslims had an adverse impact on the productive life of the fishes, and these fishes happen to be a critical source of food for several species of birds. So since the food cycle is interconnected, that is why the population of many birds began shrinking in alarming numbers, and they are rarely spotted now. Uh, See, there are certain breeds of fish which are endemic to Assam and its neighborhood, as I just mentioned. Scientists and conservationists, time and again, they have laid maximum emphasis on the conservation of these rare breeds of fish. But the Muslim immigrants, continuously, they have undone all these conservation efforts. So we need to understand why and how it has been possible for these people to do whatever they are doing, because these immigrants, if we go back to their history, the Bangladeshi Muslim immigrants in Assam, they are born and brought up in areas which are near to the river, in the riverine areas. So, because of their proximity to the flowing water bodies since childhood, they do not just become expert swimmers, but they also take up fishing from a very early age. They are poor, they struggle for the basic survival, so they adopt any means possible to earn their livelihood. Their desert cult is such that they cannot develop any sense of respect and veneration towards nature. So they exploit nature rather as much as possible wherever they settle, and this has been the primary driving force of their lives and livelihoods, to earn money in whatever way possible. I have had the opportunity of traveling in these areas extensively during the course of my MPhil and PhD fieldwork, and I've noticed their extremely unsympathetic and apathetic attitude towards their natural surroundings. So they simply do not know, uh, you know, uh, They just do not understand how to respond to any program related to environmental conservation. Right from the moment they enter Assam, they engage in indiscriminate fishing activities, even in the protected and prohibited areas. And Muslims, as I already mentioned, they began encroaching upon the wetlands and their adjoining areas, which earlier served as habitats for many different species of migratory birds. By expanding their habitations to the fringe of the lakes and expanding paddy cultivation right up to the bed of the lakes, the Muslims contributed to the rise of pollution as well, besides destroying the rich biodiversities of the areas concerned. The native Assamese people, unfortunately, they prefer to remain silent on this issue, while the government simply ignored the problem when necessary steps should have been taken to address this problem. And the last and the most disastrous effect came about when they began using environmentally and biologically harmful techniques of increasing the production of fishes, all in order to make easy money. So, after capturing the fish business, it was easy for the Muslims to establish their dominance in other sectors of the economy of Assam because a large part of the revenue came to them from the fish business. So, they could invest the money in other businesses as well. Recently, Chief Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma had highlighted that a few districts in Assam, I think he had spoken about Nagaon, Morigaon, and Kachar districts of Assam. These three districts are the state's top fish producing districts. But in the same districts, there has been a rampant increase in kidney diseases, which the Honorable Chief Minister attributed to the increasing use of urea by fish farmers because the fishing industry in these districts is predominantly controlled by Bangladeshi Muslims. In response, immediately, the Muslim fish producers in these districts imposed a fish blockade. They halted fish supplies to different parts of Assam after local organizations in several districts demanded that Bangladeshi Muslims leave the state. So it is extremely important that our local people, the Hindus, and especially those from the Kaibarta community, utilize this opportunity now, better late than never, and grab the fish market again, not through conflicts, but by producing fish in a way that is not just environmentally sustainable, but also which is fit for human consumption.
Right.
I think this is all I have to say.
Yeah,